The collapse of civilization will be the most stimulating event in the history of our planet because our civilization is the greatest it ever has been in history. And of course it'll be traumatic on everyone, but those with the fortitude and the foresight will weather the storm, and they'll all be in the history books, and everyone will be important. And it will be a very fun thing. It'll be something that if you survive it, you have really done something. Everyone can take pride in it.
This here is the control center. This controls all the functions of the shelter. For instance, the air pump is on here. Flip this thing on, and it makes a little bit of noise in here, but it's supposed to be on for about 4 hours a day. That'll clean everything up, all the crap out of the air. We got a toilet, relatively important in a bomb shelter, particularly if you're going to be spending a few days in this place. There's a shower. Up above here, we've got food. You might be able to see that each of these boxes has a number on it, and that corresponds to a sheet, printed sheet in the other room. That way we can identify which boxes have what kind of food. We can prepare what it is we want for dinner. So enough food here for 16 people for about a year, something like that. We have other food stashes too. Each of these doors conceals a bedroom. The bedrooms at this point are filled up with odds and ends. There's more food in here. All these boxes contain food. Bomb shelter, gas masks, and there's grain, some spare water. There's also 3,000 gallons of water outside in an underground storage tank. There's 4 bedrooms in here, and the other one is being used for more kinds of storage. It's all these items in here represent, well, sort of a trial. For a month I wrote down every piece of equipment I used in the house, kept track of that, and then I bought one of everything that I used. So if I ever needed something, I'd know that I'd use those things.
There are people who are survivalists that have put away a supply of everything and nothing's happened, and frankly they're really disappointed. That's not me. I hope I never use my food supply. I hope 30 years from now everything's going to be just fine, and I'll invite you over and we'll have a barbecue and we'll eat my mountain house stew and I'll buy some more fresh stuff. I'm not a wacko. I've got a spare tire in the trunk of my car. I've got food and materials supplied just in case, and it's not an obsession with me. I've got it and I feel really secure because of it. If anything happens, some people may be fighting with each other in supermarkets for water and food. I'm going to be home taking care of my family.
On a bonsai, we all stay together. You keep running. If someone shoots at you, you just run right past them. The guy behind you will get him, okay? If you get shot, you can try and function to a little bit degree as a block.
On the bonsai, keep running. Unless you hear that word paint check, you don't stop, okay?
Two coming up, two up, we're back up, we got back up.
Chase that sucker down! I'm hit.
Come on, pitch. There's not really too much we can do. I knew you were there,
Splattered the trees, so you turned around in the back.
He didn't know, but it didn't do us any good because somebody else kicking ass.
Paintball is it's kind of an adult combat game, but it's really just another form of recreation. There are a lot of different kinds of survivalists. So you really just want to live through any kind of problems that might arise, be they natural or unnatural, earthquakes or bombs, whatever the threat happens to be, we want to be able to make it. And what we achieve by that is a feeling of self-sufficiency, self-confidence, self-awareness.
There are people who see nuclear war, who see civil disruption, and are putting away lots of food and lots of equipment because they're afraid that there's going to be no services, no civilization, no law enforcement, gangs running in the street, and they're providing for that type of event. We supply knowledge in the form of books and magazines. We have books on weapons manuals.
I think we also carry the unusual line of books that it's for the people with that maybe want to change their identity, maybe disappear and live free. The people that maybe secretly want to get even, so we have the books on revenge and such like this, and the techniques of harassment. It's the full line of books that we think that in any kind of circumstances that you'd be able to read and to help yourself out of whatever circumstances you'd be in.
I moved here to Harrison, Arkansas from California because this area is my ancestral home, and I know the territory and I can relate to the people. And also, strategically, it is 150 miles north of the only military base, which is in Little Rock, Arkansas, and it's about 300 miles south of St. Louis, which would be another prime target. And then in Springfield, they have quite a population, and they would be refugees, but we have 70 miles of armed hillbillies between us and them, and they would have to run through a lead gauntlet that very few could breach. During the 60s, I looked for political solutions to the troubles the system was in, and I was very heavy on the right, and so many of my present friends at that time were heavy on the left, and we were all looking for political solutions. And finally, when neither the left nor the right could see any political solutions, we just gave up on the idea of political solutions and became survivalists. Now we can party and get together, and we don't have the same kind of quarrels at all that we did before.
There's the ammunition.
Yeah.
How about your dynamite? Lemon kisses.
These 2 meters?
And there's one just like
Are you a survivalist? I would say that I'm prepared for bad weather conditions, possible war in this country, yes. I don't consider myself a survivalist per se, mainly because of the bad connotation that's been put on in the press lately.
What are you guys? Are you survivalists or
Oh yes, we both parachute jump, and I dive, and we're all survivalists, and Cynthia rappels, and
Do you
we
have
all
a?
rappel.
Are you storing food for the big one?
Well, not yet. Probably will soon.
I am representing Sherwood International from Northridge, and I am their 1985 poster girl for the convention.
What does Sherwood Industries sell?
Sherwood sells and imports heavy artillery.
We sell a lot of our goods to people like the Mormons that traditionally believe the Mormon Church has for a long time advocated putting stuff ahead for bad years. That's the type of survivalists we deal with, not the crazy wackos that we hear about on television all the time.
I damn sure hope I'm a survivalist, because if anything ever happens, I want to be one of the ones that's left.
You yourself are a worthwhile individual who has made the decision that you'll be pushed just so far. You become a non-victim.
A survivalist is someone who cares enough about himself, his family, his country, and life, other people's lives, to preserve it. You can't just lay down and do nothing. You can turn your head and it may go away and it may not. Most likely it won't. And nobody's going to protect you except you yourself. If you don't have the guts to do it or the determination, what are you?
There's a big distinction between survivalists and professional soldiers. Professional soldiers carry on a tradition that they had while they were in the military, and that's what you find here. Survivalists believe that there's going to be an apocalypse, and they're preparing for that issue. We are not survivalists. You're not going to find anybody here who's really a survivalist, stockpiled weapons, ammunition, and food.
Marine! Get him, Arnold!
Survivalists are looking for the end. They believe that there is an end.
We accept it.
Our group,
and aren't too worried
we
about
know
it.
what the future has to hold, and we're trying to shape and mold the future according to what Declaration of Independence gives you. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and anti-communism.
Headshot! Headshot! Take him out! Take him out!
People like us, we fill our cars up at a gas station like anybody else. We buy groceries on a weekly basis, and we live our lives optimistically looking toward the future. The difference between a survivalist and people like us is that if the time comes and the apocalypse hits, we're the ones who will take the food and the stuff away from the survivalists.
People who want to go out there and just kill and steal aren't going to make it very long.
Why?
They'll probably be killed by people like me, who are capable of doing that, or the people that live with me who choose to survive alongside me. We'd all work together for survival. It's not necessary to kill one another, and probably wouldn't happen. One of the things we found through history is that we, as humans, tend to bond in times of crisis. People profess a need or a desire to go out and kill other people, to take their resources away from them, but I don't believe in the time of crisis that that's actually what's going to happen.
Some of us have a thinner veneer of civilization than others. Many of us were brought up to be very nice and civilized and polite and stuff. And some of the people who inhabit our planet aren't near that polite and that nice. And you've got to go to animal before they do. And you're going to have to get down and get vicious and keep going. And a lot of times you think, I cut that guy, why doesn't he stop? Well, he doesn't have the same values and the same attitude and other things that you do. So once you got a good cut in there, follow it up if the situation warrants you to get closer and keep going till his knife's on the ground, you get your knife in. Don't stop when you put the knife in one time. Keep going, move around behind him or to the side, and keep your knife going into the soft spots like the kidney and the back of the neck and stuff like that. So that's the main thing that I want you to think about, is to going to being a raw, terrible savage. There's no rules, there's no referee, no one's going to help you, and no one's going to come to your aid. No one. They'll all stand and watch you die and walk away. If you notice, it all has a tapered pommel that's not real sharp, but it comes to a semi-point. And that's so that even a light blow on the back of the hand will break those metacarpals. For women, just that will break that hand and make whoever grabs a hold of you, you don't even have to cut them. Just boom, like that, and back away. That hand is gone. he's not going to be able to use it. He's not going to think really hard about following you.
Okay, one more time, pay attention. Slash downward on the 1. Thrust on the 2. Slash 3.
This is live ammunition, ladies and gentlemen. There is no blanks being fired. Two-point rounds over the sights. They're moving now to straighten the line.
I want you all to just visualize out there that you've got the film crews from CBS, ABC, and NBC, BBC, and all the rest of those left-wing motherfuckers!
Survivalists have not learned to deal with death, I don't believe. They talk about death. It's the ultimate answer. And Kurt Saxon had something to say that the fantasy of survival through deadly force is one of the pieces that he put together. It is a fantasy for most of these people. They have themselves visualized as Rambozos running around with rifles flaring and people falling like leaves. They don't understand there's an awful stench to it and there's a lot of responsibility. You just don't go out and kill people like that.
As far as I know, I did coin the term survivalist, and I coined it in 1976, January, and first put it in my publication, The Survivor. And since then, I've written about 12 to 14 books on the various aspects of 19th and early 20th century science and technology, which people will need to rebuild after the collapse. And as far as I'm concerned, the definition of a survivalist is one who anticipates the collapse of civilization and wants to save himself and his loved ones and hopefully bring something to the movement, if you would, which will contribute to the advancement of the next generation. This spot could be the place of the next Renaissance after the nuclear war, because that's inevitable. And if people don't like the idea of confronting that possibility, then they had better get some cyanide capsules or come to Harrison. Up to about 1929, there were several black families living in Harrison. And then some of the young black males began making subjective remarks to the white women in the town square. And so this angered a lot of people, and so the police chief, the sheriff, the city council, and the mayor got together and decided to evict all the blacks. And so they made out a decree that every black person would have to be out of Harrison in 3 days, and there was one older black man everyone liked, they gave him 5. And so for some reason, about a week or two later, about 3 black males came back into town on one evening, and the next morning they were all found hanging under a bridge, which has since been torn down. And This is illustrative of what would happen after a flood of nuclear refugees would come in. The police department here, along with the locals, would simply exterminate those who are considered to be undesirable elements, and with no apologies. That's just a matter of fact.
Now, did you ever live in the city? It seems like you're always standing in line, and no matter what you're doing, there's someone next to you, and it makes me want to lose my mind. But out here in the country, you can get your privacy, or you can find peace of mind, and there's no neon sign to rob you of your sleep.
Collapse of civilization? It's the way I look at it. Every man makes civilization for himself. If civilization collapses, that's their problem. I got problems of my own.
I've come to accept and anticipate the collapse of civilization, and even learn to love the bomb and welcome the chaos which will come from it, because I know that's all necessary to cull the degenerate urban masses so that we can finally get to the nuclear renaissance.
Well, if Kurt is looking forward to nuclear war, I wish him the best. He's certainly welcome to dive into a bottle of flaming gas or something. He can experience it that way. I don't think that, if he really believes that, he's not in his right mind. And if Kurt doesn't believe it, he's having a great joke on the rest of us.
How did Vietnam change your outlook?
I didn't have an outlook before Vietnam. After that, I did. However, it wasn't a very productive one. There were several things I knew how to do very well. Two of those things were survive and kill. One of them is socially acceptable, I guess you could say. Killing is generally out, you know. So I learned to teach people how to survive. Excuse me. How to survive. Yeah. You see, eating bugs is one of the things. That's an inculcated societal food value, and people tend to look at bugs and bug eating as a disgusting thing. However, it is useful.
You said that survivalists don't know about the smell of death, that they're not familiar with it, and that's going to freak them out, most of them. What is the smell of death?
What is the smell of death? It's disgusting. How can you describe the smell of death? It's air with texture. It's air that's filled with bacteria and things that belong inside of skin, not outside of it. It's the smell of blood and smoke. And it's just something that you never forget, but you can never describe. I don't know how the fuck to describe the smell of death. In here is a kind of a playroom. We got some equipment, radio equipment, things like that, games. That might be important in a survival situation. If we're going to spend any time. Put some radiation detectors, things like that buried down in here. Cam equipment, extra lights, books, things to keep you busy. Then, oh shit!
Nice shot.
This here is going to be a living room. It's a little ragged right now. Back in this area, I've got a reloading room and a small machine shop so we can do repairs for parts that might break on the diesel generator or any of the other things. The whole outside of the shelter is covered with steel mesh, and that's part of a Faraday cage that's designed to stop electromagnetic pulses. Those are the things that burn out electronic equipment. This room we call the rubber ramada. Has a rubber wall. It will have a complete rubber wall when this place is finished. This is where you fuck, fight, or die. Place where you come in here and play around and get some of the aggressions out of your system that'll most likely build up if we ever need to use this shelter. If there is a tunnel of catastrophe that we have to go through, I want to come out on the other side. I'll deal with those odors and those things, but I don't. I'm not looking forward to that.